So this is the day the Lord has made, and it is a day for us to apply the fifth commandment, or at least part of the fifth commandment. We'll have Father's Day later on in June. In the fifth commandment, which is we can look at as a commitment, the fifth commitment, we dedicate ourselves to honoring our mothers. Because for all the falling down and all the getting up and all the unskilled behavior and all the skilled behavior and all the broken dreams and met expectations and joyous times and soiled diapers, what we're talking about today is the beautiful ideal, the natural part of the creative process within us, and that we can see in our lives that brings us love and carries light into our lives in even the darkest of times. Tolle says in his book, A New Earth, the truth is inseparable from who you are. And the mother in us, through us, sets us free, if you will. When you look up in the Revealing Word, which is the dictionary that the Fillmores wrote of common terms, the metaphysics of common terms, available in your bookstore, when you look up mother, what you find is motherhood, divine. There isn't even anything in there about being a human mother, because actually that's a role that we play in order to give birth to the Christ essence, the Buddha nature of each other. So what we have is divine motherhood, and it says this: divine motherhood is the brooding, the gathering, nourishing element of divine mind, or God, in which spiritual ideals are brought to fruition. And it's through co-creation that we bring that to fruition. Many people have asked me already this morning, what is this piece here? This piece is only going to be here this Sunday, so I invite you to come up after service, not right now. Come up after service and have a look at it. This is a co-creative piece that Bonnie Holly, who's an artist in our community, began with this beautiful face of God, this beautiful divine spiritual essence. And she made a background on the canvas. And then through the silent retreat, all the retreatants yesterday, this was outside by the banyan tree, and the retreatants came up one after the other and applied papers and drew and painted. And together we create the canvas of our lives. And this is somebody already has this, so it's, we can bless it in someone's home. So actually, can I say it? Dorothy Fanchi received this for a Mother's Day gift. From her beloved Bertie, who's over with our children. Taneva Jordan says this of mothers: a mother is a person who, seeing that there are only 4 pieces of apple pie and that there are 5 people, suddenly tells everyone around her that she just realized she doesn't like apple at all. A mother is that generosity of spirit in us. And you and I don't feel free. We are not set free. If the mother in us sets us free to manifest our lives in magnificent ways, we don't feel free. When we're caught up, bless you, in what we might call our pain body. If what we're continuing to do is carry around the old emotional pain of what we thought ought to have occurred, what we think should occur. When we step away from that blame, shame part of ourselves, that just attaches itself to hurts, individually and collectively. When we step beyond that state of unhappiness, we are set free to a whole new way of being. And that is the promise of the kingdom, which isn't another place at all. It's right here and right now. But boy, in that state of unhappiness, I don't know about you guys, I don't know if you sang this song where you live, but I can tell you in Chicago we sang, "Everybody hates me, nobody loves me, think I'll go eat worms." Did you ever sing that to your mom? "Oh, Mom," I said, "you won't believe what happened." I remember one time when my youngest son came over to me, and he's like, he had just been hurt And I don't know if it was his brother that did it or not, but he came over and he's like, Mom, this really hurt me. I just really got hurt. I said, well, where does it hurt? Where'd you get hurt? And he said, right over there. He already was not carrying the pain in his body. He had already, in his innocence and the Christ nature of him, separated himself from the experience where he had received the injury, and he was already just coming to be loved. He'd let it go. We're here to just let it go. And yet today on Mother's Day, I don't want to get too schmaltzy, because let's face it, there are positive and there are negative aspects to mothering. Any mothers here? Raise your hand. It's not easy being a mom. And there's also positive and negative aspects to being mothered. So let's just notice that today. The person sitting right next to you. Just take a moment to notice the person sitting to your left, the person sitting to your right. And if you do this at the exact same time that your heads face the same way, you'll be looking at each other. You could be looking at the back of their head. Who cares? But the person sitting next to you may have had vastly different experiences with their mother, with their grandparents, their grandmother, as mothers to be. So our intention here today is to validate the experiences that you've had and that you will have, and to hold you up through all the challenges and the joys that mothering can bring, and yet without any apology at all. And with total appreciation, I'm just going to ask everyone here who has a mother to sit up as straight as you can in your chair. How many times did your mom say that to you? Just sit up straight. Now think about that. Think about how they were helping you. We knew nothing, and we're not gonna, we've done a lot around chakras. We're gonna let the chakras go for a little bit, but I'm just gonna say, your mother was encouraging you to sit in mountain pose. Your mother was encouraging the yogic aspect of you to be ready, because the mother in you knew that you came fully loaded. You were already amazing, and that all you needed to do is sit right here and face your life, and you'd be fine. Shh, it's all right. None of us would be here without them. I love that everybody stood when I asked that first question. Everybody who came through a mother, stand up. You're like, I did. Who came through a mother? And I tell you what, I might still be in the sandbox if it hadn't been for my mom. I had 3 brothers, all older brothers, and there were a number of times we had a sandbox. You guys have sandboxes? My father built the sandbox, with railroad ties and my mom, I can't tell you the number of times my mom came out and said what your mom probably came out and said. If you were fighting in the sandbox, what does a mother say? She says, I don't care who started it, right? Because you're going, he started it, she started it. I don't care who started it, just stop it. The mother in you is that space holder for the peace of God. If we just stop it, then what happens with the next breath is God comes in, joy comes in, some sense of the truth comes in. When ducks fight, they just go at it. Have you ever seen any of those Florida ducks? They just go at it, man, like, roar! But it doesn't last long. You notice that? It doesn't last long, and they separate from each other, and they float off, usually in opposite directions, sometimes just with a little more space between them, moving in the same direction. And then they always do the same thing. If they have fought, they will flap their wings vigorously. So vigorously that it lifts their bodies up off the water. Have you noticed that? I mean, they will just elevate themselves. It's like Jesus, giving thanks. Lifting his eyes and giving thanks. We see that in scripture after scripture. And then miracles occur. They don't keep the fight alive. They release the surplus energy that they've built up, and then they just float. And then you see them come back together. It's like, whoa, can you believe we went through that? Whoa. And then they're just in peace, and they float. Now, if ducks had human minds, they would just keep that fight going, wouldn't they? Sometimes we're like that. Right? They might very well just start making things up, and we'd hear, I don't believe she got that close to me on this lake. She got within 5 inches of my face. I come right here by my beak. I can't believe it. That was my personal space. And I tell you what, she thinks she owns this pond. She better not get near me again, or she will find out how I really feel. You better not float over here. And that story, if ducks had human minds, could go on for days, weeks, months, years, lives, lifetimes. Have you ever noticed that when you take that story to the person that you believe originated it with you, they do not remember the incident? Yes? We're the ones who have been holding it. So for a duck, when it occurs, you just flap their wings and let go of the story and return to the power of now. May you be like a duck this week. May we be like ducks with our life energy, because the pain body, that part of us that kvetches, only renews itself through drama. It's amazing to me that media calls itself news, because there is nothing new. Have you noticed that? There's nothing new about the news. It's a reiteration of the same thing over and over again, and finding that point of limitation, speaking of that. Yet the mothering nature in us, always the mothering nature in us, helps us break free. There's a little cute story that Jan Brunette tells in a book called Portals of Prayer. And she's talking about a first grader. And this little first grade boy stands up, and he is just really proud. And he says, it's one of those days where they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? So he stands up there in front of everybody and he says, when I grow up, I'm going to be a lion tamer. And I'm going to step into those places where all those man-eating, boy-eating lions are. And I'm going to tame them. And all the children are like, in horror, and he says, oh, well, I'm going to take my mommy with me. Take my mommy with me. What we're talking about is demonstrating a ministry of presence. And every master teacher pretty much says, stop flapping your wings. Stop flapping your wings. Let the angels be around you. Feel the brush of angel wings. Stop flapping your wings. Live in the kingdom. Shh. Live in the kingdom. And Jesus, as the carrier of Christ's presence, which you are as well, is an archetypical human that embodies both the pain of what it is to be human sometimes and the ability for us to transcend. And that's the narrow gate that we go through. A mother can represent that narrow gate in our lives. Honor your mother in the Bible does not say if she gave you everything you wanted, or if she stayed with you all your life. It just says, honor your mother. Can you imagine what the mothers of these children might have said? The future astronaut Neil Armstrong, what Mrs. Armstrong, mom, might have said, Neil Armstrong, stop playing with those model airplanes. You've got as much chance of flying as the man on the moon. Right? Oprah Winfrey's mom. I want you to stop asking everybody those personal questions who walks into the room, honey. Stop doing that right now. In the Bible, in Proverbs 31:26, it says, she openeth her mouth with wisdom. This is speaking of Sophia, the feminine aspect of wisdom. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. As a girl child, as the only girl child in my family, that it's not that I knew that scripture so much, but I sometimes was really not happy with my mom when I would do something and she would just respond peacefully to me. I wanted her to let me know what were healthy boundaries, and so I pressed the envelope as a girl child. Anybody here relate to that? I mean, I really did. I wanted to hear from my mom exactly where I stood and how I could be a woman and how I could go through hard times and still be strong. And, I wanted the ups and the downs and all the instructions from her. I felt a little better when I read about Jesus at the age of 12 skipping out on his parents. They were on a trip, right? And I don't know how they didn't notice it until they got out of Jerusalem that Jesus was missing, but I'm not saying anything about their parenting skills here. But apparently he wasn't there. And they noticed, and he had stayed behind, of course, at the temple to do what he needed to do. He was training rabbis according to Scripture. So his mother came and found him, and she said the same kind of thing. My mother would say when I wasn't with her, and like, where have you been, and all that. And he said, well, I've been in the temple. And like Jesus, I would say, what? Are you serious? I mean, what? Are you serious? I was busy, okay? I was doing what I needed to do. I was never in the temple. But in a perfect world, in an ideal way, what is it that your mother, whether you knew her or not, however long you knew her, what is it that this amazing being, because mothers, by the way, are the only ones that we can actually, is the only being that we can actually pinpoint with your birth. Right? The mother, we know who it is that has given birth to another. And your mother, what would she really want for you? What does she really want? What do all mothers want? They want their child, no matter what. And some are willing to give their child up, or have to give their child up, so that they will experience the kingdom. Mothers want us to be independent. Mothers want us to have the strength and the courage to face our lives. Mothers want us to be loved better perhaps than they can love themselves. And so mothering love is the opening, the gate, the opening to the divine within you. I remember seeing a Snoopy's card in that Hallmark, it was a few years ago I saw a Snoopy card, and it was, or they're Peanuts cards, I guess, and it was Snoopy, the dog, he's doing his happy dance, with the ears going and all that, and he's dancing with this huge kiss imprinted on his forehead, and it says, Mom, wherever I go and whatever I do, I can still feel your kiss on my forehead. That kiss of the divine. John 3:31, the one who comes from above is above all. The one who is of the earth belongs to the earth and speaks of earthly things. Shh. It's going to be all right. Shh. It's all right. And so I say to you today, it doesn't matter really, in the final offing, what your pain body brings into your life. What matters is that you're willing to look at it. In Zen terms, the term is satori. That you allow yourself, no matter what it is that you're experiencing, what is before you to experience, that you allow yourself that satori, that moment, that brief moment of stepping out of the voice that's in your head, any drama around it whatsoever, and the moment you step out of that or drop into the gap, or however you want to contextualize it, the moment you breathe the breath of God, shh, a vast inner spaciousness opens up in you. And when that opens in you, it opens for everyone else in your vicinity. And because of quantum knowing, everyone everywhere opens up in some incremental way into their vast spaciousness. And we become permeable, and we allow. This takes no time at all. Just face it, recognize it, notice it, allow it, and return to the presence. You and I are not here to become a fragment of something that we are not. We are here to be what and who we already are. From the time you were born, from before your birth, from the time you leave your body and after you have left your body, you will be the light of the world. May you so shine this day that no matter what your relationship was with your mother, is with your mother, whether she's in the visible realm or the invisible realm, allow this Mother's Day to remind you always that you are a divine child of God. May the God who mothers us all lift you up on the breath of this new day and hold you in the palm of her strong and loving hand. God bless you. Happy Mother's Day.